They thought it was just another routine stop. A man who matched a vague description, loitering in a high-traffic area, maybe casing a car, nothing unusual. It was a Tuesday morning, 9:07 a.m., when the call came through. Black male, mid-30s, gray blazer, suspected of vehicle tampering on Sycamore Street. Officers Kyle Reddick and Tanya Wolf were 2 blocks away, coffee cups in hand, cruising slowly through the commercial district of Hartford, Connecticut. Kyle caught sight of a man standing calmly outside a small artisanal bookstore. The man was flipping through his phone, sipping what looked like herbal tea from a paper cup. "There he is," Kyle muttered, tapping the dash. "Gray jacket." Tanya didn't hesitate. She stepped out of the car before it stopped moving. "Hands where I can see them," she barked. The man looked up, mildly confused but composed. "Excuse me?" he asked. "You fit the description of a suspect in a recent break-in," Kyle added as he approached, hand near his belt. "I'm just waiting for my Uber," the man replied. He didn't run. He didn't raise his voice. Tanya rolled her eyes. "We'll sort it out at the station." They cuffed him. Roughly. A few people watched, 1 or 2 pulled out phones. The man didn't protest. He didn't resist. But there was something about the way he moved, precise, deliberate. Trolled. He said only one thing during the ride: "I'd like to make a phone call." Yeah, after booking," Kyle muttered. At the precinct, the booking officer hesitated. "You sure this is the guy?" "Matches the call," Tanya insisted. Acted shifty. "He was standing outside a bookstore," the man said quietly. "Holding a receipt. His name was Elijah Rains. When he was finally granted his call, he didn't fumble for a number. He didn't scroll. He dialed directly. This is Rains. Hartford PD, Sycamore Street incident. Send the documents." The call lasted 24 seconds. Within the hour, an email landed in the inbox of the precinct's deputy chief. Attached, federal credentials, a sealed case log, and an advisory from the Office of State Legal Integrity. Elijah Rains wasn't a suspect. He was a special investigative prosecutor for the state, appointed 6 months earlier to oversee civilian complaints and use of force reviews. He was in town to begin a quiet audit of precinct practices. Now, the audit had a personal case file to start with. The next day, Kyle and Tanya were called to testify at the courthouse. They walked in expecting a routine arraignment. What they found was something else entirely. There were journalists in the gallery, members of the city council, observers from the ethics commission. And at the front table, seated beside the judge, was Elijah Rains, no cuffs, no defense attorney, wearing a crisp gray suit, reviewing a thick folder. The judge called the session to order. Today's proceedings will review the conduct of Officers Reddick and Wolf during the detainment of Mr. Rains. He will be advising in his official capacity as special counsel. Kyle blinked. "Wait, he's the counsel." Tanya whispered, "What the hell is happening?" They approached the bench stiffly, uniforms perfect, but confidence cracked. "We followed procedure," Tanya said. "He matched the description. Didn't comply." The judge glanced at Elijah. "Mr. Rains, do you wish to respond?" Elijah looked up, his gaze even. "In my role, I've reviewed hundreds of reports like this. Vague descriptors, poor verification, excessive force. What concerns me is not just what happened that morning, but how often it happens without consequence." He turned to the judge. "I move to open a formal review under state code. I've submitted documentation suggesting a pattern." The courtroom went still. The judge nodded. "Granted." Elijah stood, collected his binder, and left. The officers didn't follow. They didn't speak. But they felt it, something irreversible had shifted. Back at the precinct, rumors spread like wildfire. Old reports were pulled. Body cam logs re-examined. Officers began whispering about past stops, about names that might come back. Within days, a notice arrived. The Office of State Legal Integrity had launched a precinct-wide audit. Officers Reddick and Wolf were required to surrender service logs for the past 5 years. And every stop they'd made. Every complaint filed. Every footage clip missing. When they sat in the review hearing 3 weeks later, they weren't the only ones in the room. Representatives from the DOJ, 2 members from the governor's office, and a civil rights legal team were all present. And across from them, calm, composed, and sharper than any badge they wore, sat Elijah Raines. He wasn't after revenge. He was after the record. And he wasn't going to stop until every pattern was exposed, every silence was filled, and every assumption, once so easily accepted, was put on trial. This wasn't just about one wrongful arrest. It was about everyone like it. And this time, the man in the gray suit had the floor.